Not that person.
Team, that's the report. Team, I haven't gathered you all to tell you all about that. So we have a new Okay.
Now, going back to one thing you mentioned earlier, several responses ago, you said that there are talks going on, there has been some progress made in changes to the allocation process, and these recommendations are forthcoming. Can you let us know a little bit more about those meetings and how those have gone?
Sure. David Roth has been in every one of those meetings. David, I need your help, buddy. They're asking about, come on, they're asking about budget and allocations meetings. I purposefully, and I'll let you off if you want me to, I purposefully have not been involved in the allocations review team. As the acting president and CEO, and if you were the permanent president and CEO, I do not think you should be part of that process. It needs to unfold the way it wants to unfold. With who all here is on that review team? I got some of you. Stand up, you guys. Here, stand up, please. We got Bob, we got Emily. They don't want to stand up. That's telling you all.
Emily, stand up.
Okay, Bob Hallenberg. We've got the LVAA board. Emily Ruddick with Actors Theater, an employee, and David Roth, Executive Director of Kentucky Opera, are just three of the folks who are on this review team.
And the water boy.
And the water boy, thank you very much. So, is the question, what can folks be expecting? I think y'all have recommendations are coming. Would y'all like to speak to it?
Yeah, and let me just say that I was very proud to sit on that team. I wasn't sure what the outcomes would be. The chairman of that team, as you mentioned, was Tim Howell, who ran a very good process. We came up as a team, and it was a collection of stakeholders, from board members from the Fund for the Arts, board members of the arts organizations, principal leaders of the arts organizations, and even staff who are involved in that process, like Emily and Allison from Walden Theater. It was not an easy process to go through. We didn't set a time limit for ourselves, even though there was real time constraints in trying to work through that process. We are looking right now at some short-term fixes to some issues that we think we can improve in the process, expediting the process of the allocations this year, but there are some real long-term issues, or issues that need to be looked at long-term, I should say. I think that is true. Emily, if you want to add anything to that?
I completely agree with what you just said, David. And one of the things that was a lot part of the process was examining how other United Arts funds allocate their money and looking at best practices and seeing what we could learn from both United Arts funds as well as other general allocations groups. So we even looked at the Kentucky Arts Council and how are they allocating money, and comparing and contrasting.
And arts funds, United Arts funds from sister cities as well.
Does everybody understand the term United Arts Fund is a generic name of the category of every city that has a group like Fund for the Arts that raises money? So Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Nashville, they all have a United Arts Fund. Ours in Louisville is Fund for the Arts.
And there's 58 United Arts Funds in America. There are only 6 that raise $1 million or more. The largest one hit $12 million its highest year, and I think is back down to 11.5 right now.
Was that Cincinnati?
So there's Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Charlotte, and Louisville. We have the highest per capita giving, $7.73 is our per capita, and we're higher than theirs, if you want to look at it on a broad term. All right, Bob, did you have something to add?
Well, I don't have much to add, but one thing that we found in the review in our other cities is that all of these cities are looking internally and externally, and they are trying to arrive to a different world where funds are limited, where maybe the availability of funds going forward are going to be limited for some period of time. And the issue becomes, do we allocate money to maintain operation, or do we start thinking about terms of special projects that make impact within the community? And a lot of these things are being looked at, and the fund, the board, will have to look at these things and see if that's going to be their mission also going into the future. So there's a lot of moving parts here, and it will take some time. Unfortunately, we can't just snap our fingers and it happens. But there are things that are being done, as David and Allison said, now, through the application process and through information gathering that we are trying to do in the short term to make the ability to get the information so there can be allocations of funds in a more equitable manner. But it's going to take a while.
Another question that hit the streets last year was that of inclusivity or exclusivity as it related to the Fund for the Arts. So how can we be more inclusive? Since we have these cultural partners who have been called member groups. Member, that term in itself, denotes some exclusivity. So we did a couple things immediately. We're going to have an innovation fund. It's going to be funded with $200,000 in 2012. And we've got to raise that money. Joe Pusateri, our extreme campaign chairman, and I are out trying to do that. And we're going to put $200,000. The board approved this at the September 22nd board meeting, that we will set aside $200,000 for innovative grants. This was, I think, one of the questions was leading to this on the sheet. What can you do to fund, smaller projects, more innovative projects in local groups? We're going to allow our cultural partners can put in for innovation grants, as well as any 501c3. Fund for the Arts charter permits it only to distribute funds to other 501c3. That's why we don't, answers the question, why don't we fund individual artists? We can fund artists all day long through LVAA. And that's what I get very excited about working with Shannon on in Benton, is talking about opportunities of ways to partner with them and get artists coming to them with ideas, go to them with ideas, and put in these grants and seek this funding. Yes.
I'm going to take a kind of different tack. First of all, I'd say, well, I'm Natalie Andrews for the museum. And I recognize that there's probably not anybody in this room that doesn't love Louisville, love the arts, love culture, history, heritage, everything. So we're all in the same boat. And that boat is kind of sinking. We're all struggling as hard as we can. Okay, so what is the vision for the future? Not just the future of the Fund for the Arts, but the future of our whole cultural scene here. You talked about Metro United Way, the Fund for the Arts. But if you're a heritage organization or just a plain old museum, there is no place to get operating support. So in your Power to Give presentation, when you talked about budget relief, there is no budget relief if you don't have the budget to begin with. I mean, there are problems of being small, community-based organizations, and then there's problems being heritage organizations that we have to address because we're really not able to live up to our potential, and that potential could be really wonderful for Louisville. So it's the visual arts, and it's the heritage organizations. Like, should we have a fund for the H's, history, heritage, and humanities? Could it be a sister fund to the Fund for the Arts? Or could the Fund for the Arts really get big and bold and say, let's be the fund for all of this? And I just wonder, are you thinking that way? Because the Fund for the Arts is a very strong voice, and we have the Arts and Cultural Attractions Council working real hard over here, and then the Fund for the Arts, and we somehow need to pull this whole thing together to make it work for everybody, because we all have a contribution to